Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Coach.
Guys.
Fire away with questions for Coach Morrell, please.
How'd you feel like Kempa Biculanen did playing as much as he did with Ace out?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing is there's a lot of trust there. He started a number of games for us a year ago, and just excited for him. He's made, we were joking the other day. I mean, a pick a week would be a positive thing, and for him to get his hands on a second one and at a critical time, taking points off the board, just excited for him to be out there making plays.
Last year, the two losses were both on grass, and a lot of talk about that. Is that a thing or not? Some people think it is.
Yeah, not to us, not to me, and not to our guys. I think they're just lined up and ready to go, and I don't know that the surface matter, where the surface is at or what kind of surface we're on makes a big impact. I think the bigger focus is on right now for us going and playing a really hostile environment in a big road game against a team that's going to be, really connected and being really aggressive. And I think that's where our focus lies this week.
Can a guy like Jeremy Bernard, who was there last year, can he help you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, Germ, I mean, he's fully a dog at this point. I think, for me, just watching him play every week and the passion and to see him making plays is awesome. At the same standpoint, I think he was only there for a short amount of time. Really look at the big picture. He wasn't a long-term guy there. He's just there for a season. So, there won't be, it's not like we're sitting back pulling scheme notes or anything from him. And I think, what Michigan State's done over the years has been pretty consistent anyway.
On that note, we talked to Coach Shep last week, and he said that he got a text, I think, from you in the offseason saying it looked like they had a linebacker lifting with the wide receivers, and that was Jeremy Bernard.
Yeah.
What's been your impression from a defensive perspective of what Jeremy brings and what makes him hard to defend?
Yeah, I call him the H-backer. I think, man, he does some great things. Just watch him on special teams, and I think it's exciting. And, the thing that, he's a guy you want to cheer for because of his positive demeanor, his passion for the game, how much he loves football, just a genuine joy to be around. And so I think it's been pretty cool, to see him out there on the field popping in a lot of different ways, making plays.
How much different is this Michigan State offense? I know there are quarterbacks in the SEC from last year. The wide receivers have split with one coming here. Are they radically different with personnel?
Not terribly. They've replaced a number of those guys, and I think they've brought in some dynamic transfers. Systematically, they've stayed very consistent the entire way through, and I think they're obviously are about being physical and grinding, and I think they've got a great running back. I think the kid that came in, transferred into them, is a really good running back, and then their slot receiver, their top receiver so far was a top guy that we had to defend last year, and the quarterbacks look great here early in the season. So don't expect a lot of differences schematically. There's some different personnel in there, but I think they've done an adequate job replacing their personnel.
Chuck, what do you make of your pass rush after 2 games?
Yeah, we're all over the quarterback. It's just a matter of getting him down on the ground, I think. And it's not that we're not there or missing sacks. I just think that people are leaving a lot of people in on protection right now. And I think you look at the number of pressures where the quarterback's not throwing on time, or he's throwing off his back foot, or he's getting knocked on the ground. We're really pleased with the percentages so far. And if people are going to take people out of routes, that's one less guy to cover out there for us. And so that's always a net positive in terms of being able to have our numbers game in the passing game be the way we want it to be.
We know how much an emphasis run defense has been for you guys, and you'll be tested, like you mentioned, this weekend. Do you feel like you've been able to do that the way you've wanted to in the first 2 games?
Yeah, there's certainly some cleanup things that we need to make sure that we're on point with. At the same standpoint, I think guys schematically are doing a good job of understanding where they need to be, and winning first down right now is a big point of emphasis for us. Getting guys into second long leads to third and long, and there's certainly a couple of plays here and there that we got to get worked out. But we're 2 weeks in a row seeing brand new scheme. Where we walk in and we're not sure what we're going to see coming into the week, and so just making a few adjustments as the games go, as the games have gone, and guys have done a good job of grabbing those adjustments.
Zion good to go Saturday?
Planning on it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like Devin Bryant played on Saturday. It looked like he played last week. Has the decision been made that he's going to play all year long?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a possibility for us for sure. I mean, the one thing I've been really pleased with Devin, as far as the guy, early enrollee for us, came in December and just fantastic for a young guy, fantastic football IQ. And it showed up during our scrimmages in the spring. He showed up during our scrimmages during fall camp. And, I think you go throughout the course of the season, we know we'll probably need an extra guy, and he's also a good, solid special teams player. So I think there's certainly a possibility that we use him this year. And he's got for a young guy, you can tell he's going to be a future veteran leader for us.
Looks like, with a couple of lopsided wins, you've been able to play a lot of guys.
Yep.
Guys that have never played before, like Antonio Hill has been here a long time, and
Yeah.
I think I saw the replay, and I've never seen him on the field before.
Yeah.
So you're rewarding guys when you have a chance, I guess?
Absolutely. I think, in fact, I got a chance to talk to Tone after the game, and I'm just, there's so much respect that I have for a person that sells out, physically and emotionally to help the program in any way that they can. And he's been here the whole way through, and it grinds just as hard as everybody else does, trains just as hard as everybody else does. And so to see him get a chance to go on the field and have a tackle, it's pretty exciting.
Javon Parker good to go?
Yes.
And how do you feel he's progressed?
Fantastic. Pretty excited. Early progress. We talked about him being able to stack off of the accomplishments that he had a year ago. I thought he came on really strong towards the end of the season last year. And early on, he's been a stalwart for us. I think he's a guy that's been in the backfield. He's been gap penetration. He's been hanging around the quarterback. He's been chasing the ball down. And you can really just see the growth and evolution. I think Coach Noakes is doing a great job of getting him developed. And he's certainly a factor to be a regular part of our rotation right now.
Chuck, I was going to ask Kalen the same question, but would apply to you guys as well on defense. You know about what's going on in Michigan State, obviously, with Coach Tucker this week. And for lack of a better question, how do you make sure the kids don't think this is going to be some cakewalk because the Spartans are without their head coach?
Right. Well, I think the thing that we just focus on, it's, our season theme is us versus us, and just focusing on what we're in charge of, what we control. And like I said, we know we're going to go out there. It's going to be a hostile environment. And I think, anytime there's strife and things like that, has an effect for teams at times to pull them closer together. And so I think without a doubt in my mind, they're going to come out ready to rip and play well.
After looking at the game film, who graded out well?
I had a number of guys, pleased with, obviously thought Eddie had a great day for us. Really led the charge in terms of the production. Got great production out. Again, Braylon Trice was a wrecking ball down around the line of scrimmage. Dom Hampton has made some great progress for us, very productive, making a lot of plays in the back half. So there's a number of guys that graded out well.
After we take a look at the tackles, and over the past few years, we're used to looking at that and seeing somebody in double digits, but we're not seeing that this year. Any explanation? It just seems evenly spread out.
Yeah, well, I think that has a lot to do with how many guys we've been able to play here the first couple of weeks. I think that's a big piece of it right now. We've been able to keep a pretty regular rotation, and it was mentioned earlier, there's an opportunity for a lot of guys to get on the field here, and that's something that's critical because it's a paramount to make sure that your depth is on point. And so, some of those tackles have been shared within a position, so to speak.
Anything else for Coach Morrell?
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Appreciate you guys.
Let them get seated, and then you can get started with the questions.
Morning, everybody. How we doing?
Good.
Good.
Go right ahead, please.
So did Mateo Mele survive the weekend?
Yeah, we're still examining him, but they're working through it right now. He's got some tests run yesterday and some today, so we'll see where he's at probably tomorrow at practice.
How about Dylan Johnson?
He's looking better. He had a good workout before the game. We decided not to let him go. It was kind of honestly really at that breakfast that morning before the game, and worked him out. He hit 94% of max velocity, so we're really close with him.
You guys have had a couple good performances from Jeremy Bernard in different ways, using him, and obviously you got so many different guys at wide receiver, but I'm curious what separates his skill set, what makes him a little bit different player and personality in that room?
Yeah, Germ, if you watch his high school film, super versatile guy. He's coming out of the backfield. He's running the football between the tackles and things like that. And Germ's just a big, strong kid. He certainly if we want to make him a full-time running back, he could do that. You know, I'm not interested in doing that, but he certainly can line up back there and take handoffs every game. So we're excited about that. He just has a little different skill set that way. You know, him and JP are both built just a little thicker and can sustain that. But Jerm's done a great job. We've been putting more and more on his plate every week, and that's what he's done a good job of, is being able to be, you know, understand pass protection, pick up a little bit of that, and then also being able to run out of the backfield and play Z and play X and play H. So he's really doing a nice job.
You had a couple of drop passes and a fumble. Are there consequences or just a stern, don't do that again?
Yeah, I mean, the consequences are, you know, missing out on scoring opportunities, right? You know, on game day, it's more about, you know, the pride of performance. And obviously halftime was not a great environment. You know, it was frustrating. You know, I think we had 9 drives total and 6 touchdowns, and we threw a pick and dropped a fumble, and the other one we missed a field goal. So, you know, just missed opportunities, and this was the first time we saw a few less possessions, and it kind of showed up to the guys that we got to make the most out of every possession.
You've had 3 wide receivers run for touchdowns, and it sounds like Jeremy Bernard could do that too. Does that put defenses on notice that just anything goes?
Well, I hope so. That's the plan, right? But I think that, you know, our job as coaches is to make sure you find as many ways to manufacture getting the football in your best players' hands. And whatever that takes, you know, we got to keep working and scheming ways to do that.
How can you assess the run blocking for the first couple of games?
I thought it was good second half of this game. You know, I thought it was below average the first game, and I thought they actually took a step forward this game. I don't know what we averaged, but I think it was upwards of 5 yards a carry, and obviously we had a couple bigger hits there, but Will Nixon ran the ball well, and I think if I'd have given him more opportunities, he would have, you know, done a really nice job. We were doing a good job of completing the ball and staying on the field. I think we were close to 75% completion, so sometimes, you know, taking what they give you is can be in flip order too, right? If they're giving you the plays, you want to keep throwing it downfield a little bit.
Did Mike get dinged up at all on that tackle?
No, he's a man of steel. He's good. He's good.
What, I mean, and people ask these kind of cliche, but what's going through your mind as you're watching him attempt to make that tackle on that?
I'm pissed at everybody on the field. I can't believe he has to make that play, you know, and I was like legitimately extremely upset. And that was a good learning moment for us. We had to watch that film, and even when you see good players on your team that are standing around not going to make a play, it was almost a sense of we don't put the ball on the ground that much. So as a reminder as coaches, like, leave nothing to chance. We got to coach this up and make sure the guys understand what the protocol is when the ball is on the turf, and make sure that we can take care of it. So, but yeah, it was, you know, you watch the tight shot of Mike on that play, and he runs over there, uses the sideline as his friend, cuts the guy in half, jumps up, and starts jogging back to the sideline. It was awesome.
Did people think that play was dead in terms of the response after the fumble?
I think in their mind, yeah, it was dead. But there really was no good explanation for it. You know, the guy, a good barometer is JP. JP is one of the hardest workers on the team. He's the most in tune guy out there. He preps like a pro, and he was just standing there. You know, and so when I saw that, I was like, man, we gotta get this coached up and straightened out. So, and it was, and it will be.
I asked you this last week, was there a play that pre-snap you just knew?
Yeah, there was a couple of them. I thought both those reverses were pretty juiced up. They were a good look for us.
In terms of Mike's interception, don't see that a ton, but was that a miscommunication in terms of Rome breaking that off a bit? Or
Yeah, that's a hard route down there in the red zone. That was a break-off route there, and so Rome thought he needed to take a little bit flatter. Mike was kind of anticipating him coming out of that break against the defender at a little higher angle. So, and those timings it's just so much tighter down there in the red zone. And when that happens, I think that the opportunity for error is a lot less. So that was a tough break for us right there. And I know, you know, obviously Mike never wants to throw a pick, but he responded really well. He was like, yep, it is what it is. You know, me and Rome will get it straightened out. So I thought his response was great.
How much has Michigan State's defense changed from the one that you saw a year ago?
There's definitely some things that are a little bit different, or they've shown in the first 2 games that have changed a little bit. But I think all the DNA stuff that we've seen over the last couple of years with those guys, and then even in this year, still shows up.
Are we getting spoiled with Mike? It just seems like at times back there, he's just sitting back there all day and it's going through 4, 5, 6 progressions. Is that normal for the offense you run before you got there?
I mean, you hope so, right? I mean, I think that the protection has to be there, but you hope the system. I think back to even at Fresno when we had Marcus McMarion was a transfer quarterback. He came to us from Oregon State, and just seeing how fast Marcus picked up the offense and was able to, pop through progressions and things like that. I think that there's a piece of the offense that is definitely quarterback friendly, but I think there's also another layer to it that obviously Mike takes it to an elite level and how he plays.
When Jeremy made the decision to go to Michigan State instead a couple of years ago, I was curious what your guys' conversations were like at that time and how you sort of felt you left it when that decision was made.
Oh yeah, I'll tip my cap to Coach DeBoer on that. And me and him both met with Germ right when he decided to go back there, and it was just a really emotional time for Jeremy and his family. And he was a confused kid that had his mind made up for quite a while that he was going to be here at Washington, and then the narrative changes, and it's just a tough time honestly for him and his family. So Coach let him out of his national letter of intent and allowed him to pursue, other opportunities. And I think that part of that, there was a recognition later probably by Germ and his family that, these guys are who they said they were, that it's not going to be, we could have tried to play hardball there and really limit what the kid could do, but that, that's not us as far as that goes. He didn't know us, and we didn't want to try to force his hand and, force him into a relationship. We wanted to let it happen. And so you look a year ahead, and it worked out for us. And now he's, couldn't be happier, and we're lucky to have him. He's a great kid.
In terms of the player that you thought he was at that time coming in,
Absolutely.
were you pretty disappointed?
I was wildly disappointed. I thought he was fantastic. So I thought he was a really, really good get, both as a person and a player. And so it was a bummer that we didn't get him right away.
You've got the rest of the season to worry about, but how much is this week a primer for what Big Ten football is all about and going into a stadium like that and making a road trip like that this week?
Yeah, I don't think that's a great question. I don't think that there's anything that, in the moment, I guess, that you really think about other than the opponent. I think there's obviously, some ramifications down the road that you can sit back on and pontificate what ifs and how it's going to look. But right now, I think it's Michigan State, and we know what they look like, and we got to go get them.
Somebody mentioned, one of the reporters mentioned after the game, was there a play where an offensive lineman went in motion for you guys? Maybe Troy at some point during that game?
Yeah, Troy shifted on one, yep.
Is this, in terms of the veterans coming back this season, is this the most offense, the most wrinkles you've had in an offense since you've been a coordinator?
I think in 21 at Fresno, we had a lot. We had kind of a second-year group there, too, very similar setup, and older quarterback that was well-versed in the system. And so then you can, especially when you got that guy back there where Mike can make things right, that helps you out a lot, where he can get guys lined up and things like that. So I definitely think these guys are taking it to another level, though.
As the coordinator, pulling strings and having fun with it, having the veterans, having the quarterback, all of that being back, how much fun is that for you knowing, okay, we can just do whatever we want to do in this offense right now?
Yeah, it's a blast. I think the ownership piece is what makes it exciting is there's a responsible level. You can run gadget plays and things like that, but if you don't trust your guys to do the right thing in those moments, they're not very much fun to run. You don't want to hold your breath when you're doing it. You want to get the right look and, believe in your guys that they're going to execute and do the right things, even when the play's not perfect. Like on the handoff reverse, to Mike, nothing's there, he throws it away. No big deal. JP was covered, J-Mac was covered, move on to the next play. And I think that part of that, there's also a maturity in the guys that they don't look at it like you practice these plays all week and then, you run it once every 6 weeks, and then when it doesn't happen, it's like you lost the Super Bowl. It's just another play that they worked really hard on, and if it didn't go, we'll have another one. And they have a maturity about them with that.
Ryan, I remember Nebraska used to put the ball on the ground and let offensive guards pick it up and run with it.
The Fumblerooski, yeah.
What prompted you to throw a football to a snapper. I've never seen that in all the years I've been watching.
That was Coach Schmidt. That was, you talking about Demos?
Yeah, the Jaden Green.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in practice. I was like, that's pretty good, Schmidt. I like that one. That's good. But Jaden's a good athlete, and Demo had good control, and we've been running that thing. Man, they've been working on that for a long time. So that's definitely Coach Schmidt. That had nothing to do with that one.
And Green was like a running back wide receiver in high school. So
That's right.
You kind of have to have an athlete like that, even though he's up on the line.
Yeah, no, and he is. He's a good athlete, and from what I've seen when we were doing that in practice, they executed every time. Those guys did a great job with that.
Is that strictly an extra point play, or could we see that at midfield?
Oh, you could see that midfield. You never know. You never know.
You want people to think you'll see it.
That's right.
Have you, you talked before the season started about the new clock rules, first downs, all that. Have you seen any kind of effect of all that as far as plays, drives, things like that?
This week, I thought at the end of both halves, specifically halftime, leading into the halftime, there was definitely some clock issues there where the clock not stopping and things like that. It definitely chewed up more time because that was, I can't remember what we ran, 62, 63 plays and only having the ball 9 times, just really, I thought it showed up a lot. Not as much in the Boise game because I think there was more passing on both sides of the ball or incomplete passes and incomplete pass. But this one, the clock was trucking along.
And you said that earlier, that you had the ball 9 times but only scored 6 times, right? Only scored. Do you
right.
expect to score on every drive?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
So the fans who have that same kind of crazy expectation,
Oh, I know they do.
you're cool with that?
I am. I think that lining up and going out there, and if the expectation isn't that we're going to go 99 yards, I just don't know, what else you would think. And then I think that the bigger part is lining back up the next drive when it's been, maybe you have 2 drives like the Boise game where 2 or 3 times and you don't score. Mm-hmm. But then having the belief and the optimism that, hey, when we get it, it's going to look right this time. I think that's the bigger part is that the kids do believe and expect to score every time we get the ball, but it's the response when you don't. When you have these really, really high expectations and then it doesn't happen exactly like you want it to, what's it going to feel like the next time you come out and have the football? So I think that's a big part of the growth this year is that the guys have been able to do that.
Coach, the throw that Dylan Morris made to Romo Dunze down, I know physically he can make that throw, but do you see the confidence level that he's had in this offense going from last year when he was still learning the offense to this year? Would he have made that throw last year?
I think he would have, but I do think there's been a lot of growth with Dylan this year, in some of even not just schematically because Dylan's a really tight-end guy, super intelligent, he knows what he's doing, but I think there's some things in the back end of the pocket that he's doing right now, working on to increase his vision, to keep himself in better position to make those throws and identify the throwing lanes and things like that. And Dylan works really hard to improve that. And that's where I think he's made some pretty big ground up this year in that regard.
With some of the plays you run, like the 2-point conversion and 2 receivers in the backfield, how much of that is really about executing the play as opposed to making another team prepare for that and then running something off of that?
Yeah, I think there's definitely both. I mean, it's about, we wouldn't put it in if we didn't feel like there was going to be, potential for an explosive play. And then there is always an element of just volume, that a defense has to look at from week to week. And I think that that's always the game within the game, as the season goes on. But as far as the scheme and the play we run, the initial part of it, it wouldn't make the call sheet if we didn't, believe really wholeheartedly that it had a chance to be a big-time play.
Michigan State has 10 sacks in the first 2 games, all opponents all considered. Just what stands out about their defensive front?
Yeah, they're good. They're good. They're well coached, and they'll be aggressive and they'll play really hard and physical. And I think they got some big guys up there that really know how to get to the football. They have some players that are super versatile, that they play in a lot of different roles and positions. So I think that it'll be a huge challenge for us up front, and we better be ready to buckle up for it.
Have you been there to that stadium before?
I have.
Does it kind of compare to anything you've been to, or?
It's a great environment, number one. Fans are great. It's a fun place to play a game. It's really fun. I mean, sidelines are really tight, so their fans are right on your guys. And so I just told the guys to get ready for a great experience because they're passionate fan base that I think, really believes in their football program. And so it'll be a ton of fun. The kids are going to have a great time.
You had to change centers with everything still going on. Was it seamless going to Brailsford?
Yeah, Parker did great. He did a great job, and he's a super bright kid. And Coach Huff does a great job rotating those guys so they get a lot of reps at a lot of different places. So, but Parker did a great job when he got in there.
Is he more of a guard or a center or just both?
Oh, I think he's both. I would have told you prior to fall camp, I would have said he's more of a center just because of athleticism and size, but he's really obviously showed out really well at guard.
All right.
Thank you.
The reverse of Troy Polamalu.
First play, second drive.
Yeah.
I was in the staff meeting. I know that's what's going on. So, no. Week 3 already. It's it starts flying by because we're in that routine now and in that rhythm. And so, first chance to go on the road this year. And so, great challenge against another team that's 2-0. They got a lot of positive things happening in their season from on the field and being 2-0 with their 2 victories over Central Michigan and Richmond. So, be a great challenge. We're looking forward to it. And then, obviously, we worry about conference schedule after that.
Do you remind you
When you run some of
guys?
the plays like you did the 2-point conversion, do you have a talk with the officials before the game to give them a heads up so that they're aware of something unique is coming?
Yeah, we do, and some of it's just making sure that I'm clear on, there's certain rules as far as addressing the ball, and just always every game making sure there's about 3 or 4 things that could pop up both from us and just making sure things that I see in college football to make sure I know how they're going to handle it, addressing the football and how, when a center puts his hands on the ball in those special team situations and so forth, what could happen with shifting and motioning and movement. So, but yeah, I do definitely have a list of things. I always want to make sure, especially at the end of a half with the clock and whistles and things like that, that I also know how they're going to handle it, and they're consistent. I think, especially this cruise that I've had more than one time, they know those questions are coming.
Michigan State is without its head coach this weekend. Will you bring up the Arizona State game? Because that was the same situation, and the Sun Devils won that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I thought about that. It might come up, but I really am feeling like you don't make a big deal of it because again, it's going to be about the 100+ guys that they have on their team that are wanting to do something special, and they're going to be playing at home, trying to go 3-0 in an environment, as I've heard a couple times now here today, is hostile. It's going to be an awesome atmosphere, and so I think a lot of coaches on that staff have been there many years. The coordinators have been there all 4. That staff's been there. So, I think there'll be obviously some distractions that they have, but we can't let those distractions be ours.
If you were a coordinator or a coach on that team and got thrown into a leadership position the way that they are this year, what would be your message to the team? How would you handle it?
Yeah, just cut it loose, go play. And it's so early in the season right now that, again, a lot of teams around the country are optimistic about what that year can look like, winning championships and, again, just getting the season. And, you always, and we would do the same, guys work hard all year long to get this opportunity to play. And so take advantage of the opportunity. And so, players, they of course, our guys, we want to have a great season, a great team experience, but also these players are all working to try to get to the next level too. So there's a lot of motivation to go out there and play well.
Kalen, Dan asked about the ASU staff, but you've talked before about those 2 games last year. You were down some guys, banged up a little bit. What are the lessons, though, that you want to take from those 2 games last year?
Well, I think we've taken some of those and through the off season, done what we, as the best we could to help build some depth at multiple positions. And so, O-line, defensive back, some of those places are the ones you worry the most about, and that's especially a defensive back a year ago. And we've played a lot of guys at different spots, and there's some banked reps that players have had, whether it be last season or through this spring, summer, fall. And this is where it needs to pay off if they're needed to step on the football field at some point this year.
Is there a battle between Elijah and Devon Banks going on for that starting corner spot next to Jabbar?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And the plan going in last week again was just to let them keep battling, keep playing, and that will continue to be the case as we move forward. So Jabbar's done a really good job, and man, there's a play. He just doesn't panic when things break down or if someone's got to step on him. He just trusts his technique, and you can see he's a veteran guy. But those other guys, and I like their mindset. Their mindset is to go out there and compete and not worry about the other guy and just do what they do. And they're both more than capable.
Devon left that game last week. Is he good to go going forward?
We'll be working through, this week with him and a few other guys as well, especially here early, just trying to figure out where they're at.
Asa, one of those two.
Yeah, yep.
There's been a lot made last several years here about games not won on grass fields. Obviously, is one here on Saturday. Is there anything you do this week to?
Yeah, we'll adjust a few things. I think it's always what you make of it, and you make things a big deal, it becomes a big deal. And we'll certainly make sure and adjust a few things throughout the week, make sure the guys get a chance to at least get on some grass at some point. And I think what you really don't want is on Saturday for that to be the first time where they finally feel grass underneath their feet. I think over the years, that's what I've experienced is, oh yeah, we're on grass, and this is what it feels like. You got to do something at some point. So there's some things that we'll do throughout the week.
We just say, where do you go? Because we've talked before about not having a grass.
Yeah,
practice field, right?
yeah. There's things that we're working through. So there's walkthroughs and stuff like that where you make adjustments. So yep.
Tui Tele, he missed the game. Is he going to be back this week, do you think?
Yeah, he's been training very similar to Dylan Johnson. Been on a good regiment with his return, and so early in the week here I think we'll be able to work through that.
Have you seen some extra excitement with Javon Parker and Armon going back to their home state and heading into this week?
I haven't got there with them on that, but I can about imagine, right? I remember when we were recruiting them, they knew this game was on the schedule and the excitement that their family had. So I can about imagine how they feel about us going back to Michigan. So it'll be a fun experience for them. I'm sure they'll be well supported.
Since fall camp, I think there was a couple scholarships open. Have you given any of the walk-ons or awarded scholarships since fall camp?
Not at this time. No, we haven't. Yep.
You guys,
We haven't started school yet or anything either. So with quarters, we haven't started school yet either. So there's that opportunity.
Would you anticipate that happening?
Maybe.
With all of the offensive creativity in just 2 games, have you ever put your foot down and said, we're not going to run that?
That we're not going to run
Yeah,
that?
is there a play, something that you said, nah, that's a little too out there?
No, not really. Just I think it's about when do we run it. When is it ready? When is it dialed in? Because some of these you don't just practice that week. You've had them in your arsenal. Some of them you call up and the details from years ago or years past, and it goes both ways, right? I've had schedules where you input and install trick plays all through the spring, all through fall camp, and it goes really well. And then the next year you do the same thing and they don't, and it's better off just putting them in on Tuesday and getting them ready for that game plan. But Ryan and the staff just do an amazing job, knowing which ones apply and which ones fit that game plan, fit the personnel that we have, and dialing them up at the right time. And that was good to see those reverses this week. And I know we tried the though really the wildcat pass as well. But it really keeps defenses on their toes, and that's one of our main goals.
Kalen, do you think that the short passing game, bubble screens, things like that, can that replace the run game, or do you need to have a traditional between the tackles run game that is a threat?
No, I think there's times when you just really got to be able to run it, and but I think what you're saying, applies to our offense where there is a lot of passes tied to our run plays, and when the defenders are creeping into the box, we're just going to keep throwing the ball. Now, again, I think there's times where you just say, hey, we're running it, and we're making sure we block everyone, and we can continue to improve there, which I thought we did this last week. It may not always show up in big stats and the home run, but you can see oftentimes we're just really one block away, one cut away from a 4-yard gain being 30 or 40. And so we'll just keep staying the course. Same process as last year. When you got a guy like Mike and the crew, throwing it and catching it at such a high level of efficiency, you got to make sure you don't get away from what you do best.
And then Ryan mentioned Jalen's fumble and kind of the offense's reaction to it. And he was a little bit ticked off at that.
Yeah.
What was your kind of take on that?
Yeah, I mean, we watched it, we watched it unfold at the time too, and you never know. You never want to overreact because I know how it is. I think all the guys kind of thought maybe that either number one, it was down, or number two, that they all kind of had the defender hemmed in, and it's not a position they're used to being in, just as an offensive unit, especially ours, because we do a pretty good job of taking care of the football. And so we just got to find a way to get him on the ground quicker so Mike doesn't have to be the one that does it.
You guys have made some loud plays in kick coverage in the first two games. What have you seen in terms of the attitude of that group and just the enthusiasm, where that's something where a lot of guys don't always want to be a part of that or aren't excited to be a part of something like that? Yeah,
I think special teams is a want to type of thing, right? And you want to be a part of it. You want to make big impact plays, and you gotta be a guy that's got some courage, because there's some high level impacts that happen. And our kickoff team is one that I've challenged, especially after week one, because they set the stage, or they set the tone in that week, and they got their opportunities, which most of them were either touchbacks or fair catches. But again, right there, and Tristan Dunn this week, so it's been someone different every time, which is really cool because now it tells you it isn't just one guy going down there on a mission. You got a whole crew of guys, and so we need to continue to keep that as a strength, because when you're starting with the ball in your own 25 or worse, whether it's a touchback or fair catch, or a return that doesn't go well, that's a huge piece for our defense as far as starting field position.
Aside from playing surfaces, what are the landmines or challenges that you identified this week in particular, being the 8th ranked team in the country, going on the road for the first time and facing a hostile environment like you are against a Big Ten opponent? Yeah, first time on the road, crowd noise, travel, just typical stuff. We do have a mature team. We've been in with most of this crew in loud environments, and so, there definitely shouldn't be the concern of us overlooking an opponent this week, so a lot of those things, because of who we are and the situation, I'm expecting a great week of practice, full of energy, guys ready to go, go on the road and show off our culture and what we're all about.
I heard one of the defensive linemen walking off the field Saturday said Jabbar was the only guy that had a sack, which wasn't true technically, but the pass rush overall, your take after 2 games on that? Please, not please.
No, Jabbar, and that was impressive too with the way he closed in at the end. But I think there's a couple things. I heard Coach Morrell talking, and I agree. There's a lot of max protection. Double teams, triple teams, sliding. So you got one edge taken care of, you got another edge taken care of, usually with a tight end and a tailback. And so that helps out on your pass defense because you can drop guys into space as long as you either are getting that or if they're throwing the ball quick, it's hard to get home. It's hard to get home and finish off and get the stacks and the sacks in the stat column. that I know we were used to early in the season last year. So, but it goes full circle. I just think stay with it, and we know we got personnel that can get home, that can cause some problems in the backfield, and just keep executing. And it's not because we're not executing. It's not because guys aren't trying hard. I'd be probably more concerned if we were in the backfield and we were just missing the quarterback or anything like that. And it's not like I don't think we have the guys up front to win the one-on-ones, because I seen it all in fall camp. I see it every day in practice. What we have as far as edge rushers and D tackles that can get to the quarterback.
I asked Grubb this too, but how disappointed were you to not get Jeremy Bernard out of high school ultimately? And I don't know, with the portal the way it is, was he somebody you kind of identified as well? Maybe let's just wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, we can say it now because he's here and I love him, and he's just been such an amazing fit. But it was a tough one because he just fit everything about us. We knew what he was talent wise, but even more so as a person. He and his family, just doing the home visit there in December. I just loved this as far as like, hey, this is our future. This is a guy that's coming into our program and can just do special things. His film popped at me because he's got the ability to catch balls, but he's also, running as a quarterback or wildcat, doing things out of the backfield. And, you see that translate into last Saturday, where we lined him up, and just a different type of player. And kick returns, you're seeing the production that he's had there as well. So very versatile, amazing person, and we're so glad he's here. That was a tough one at that time, and I'm thinking in the end he just kind of went back to understanding that he was going through a lot, and that you try to do the right thing, and that's what we say we're in this business for, is for guys to have the right opportunities. And fortunately went full circle, maybe like you'd even hoped originally, and that he's back here. And it's great to have him here for sure.
Were you able to talk to him about his Michigan State experience? Because it seemed kind of odd. They threw to him deep early. He scored. He caught passes. He even started against you guys. And then they didn't use him down in the last 7-8 games. I mean, they played him, but they just didn't use him. And I thought maybe he got caught up in the losing or something.
Yeah, no, I don't really think so. I think he really loved it here. And once he decided that he should enter the portal, and we were right there, of course, pretty quickly, because we knew him very well. But I just think that, even if you ask Jeremy, he's not the type of guy who's going to burn down anyone. And so I don't think you get any of that, of what you're kind of asking about. He just, trying to find the right home. And, he knew what he had and needed to find something just a little bit different. And, when we made that offer to him, that opportunity, I think he was really excited about it. Just went through that process, just a few more days, a few more weeks, however long it took. And we're certainly glad he's here, no question.
What's it like having him back there to return kicks when it feels like teams are trying to kick away from him already? Or he just feels like he's going to break one big at any given time?
Yeah, no, it's you always love having confidence, the confidence when your personnel are out there, and you just feel like something's good's going to happen. And so, people are probably going to try to keep it away from him. We keep working and playing that game to better understand how we can utilize him as a threat when he does have the ball, but also force teams to have to kick it to a spot where it still benefits the field position we can get in a return on kickoff.
Can you talk a little bit about Jaden Green and just being able to put him in a spotlight in a situation where he doesn't get a lot of credit a lot of the time? What's it mean to the team, and just maybe a conversation you had with him and what it was like when that happened?
He's so fun just to be around, and you walk by him every day, and there's a smile on his face, and he's positive. He's always saying hi and going out of his way to give you a fist bump or whatever it might be. He just does his job really well, and it's fun to reward a guy and give him a highlight, especially here early in the season. So he's one of those guys, he trains and puts so much into it. I would venture to guess he's got to be one of the top athletes when it comes to long snapper that there is out in the country. Just watch him, on a punt and how quickly he gets out and how much pride he takes on getting down the field to be in a good position to cover. He takes his job very seriously, so it was fun on Saturday to get him that catch.
Two games, two running into the kickers. Was that a punt block that was called for a Steen and he just didn't take the right angle, or what was the situation?
Yeah, we were going after it. Again, the first one, the field goal kick, feel very strong that we hit the ball, and so that is a different deal. But we did go after it, and there's multiple guys that got to work together to draw a defender, and we were right exactly how we wanted to have it dialed up in those spots, and you just got to bend the corner a little sharper, and we can do a better job with one or two other players to make that corner not as sharp on that particular scheme that we were running. So again, we can't afford to have that's really a turnover, and so we can't afford to have that happen. It's a big-time growth moment, learning experience for us. Mikell's is intelligent of a guy. He's super just smart, very instinctual, great awareness. And so for that to happen to him, you just, I think you really understand. You got to stay on it. You can never assume anything. And no matter who you put in those spots, just keep coaching. And, our whole special teams units, continue to learn from those two experiences the last 2 weeks. Doesn't mean we're not going to stay aggressive. You saw, Boston coming off the edge, just missing a couple extra points on Saturday as well. So we got guys that want to go make impactful plays, and we do have to just be a little bit smarter about it.
You commented on the wide receiver drops after the game, and you said you had total confidence they would get it fixed and all that. How have you, first of all, did you see anything that caused the drops when you watched the film? And also, how about their reaction during practice on Sunday?
Yeah. To me, drops are, when you have super talented guys that have they're just great hands, and a drop happens, it really comes down to one thing. You just take your eye off the ball. And so that's really what it comes down to, is just slowing it down a second, not trying to do too much before you have the ball secured. So that doesn't change the confidence we have. Good experience, good learning moment for those guys whenever that happens to whoever it happens to. It's going to, happen to probably someone else at some point throughout the year, But I said it after the game. There's no reason to be hard on anyone. On Sunday, those guys again reiterated, coming to me, coming to other coaches, literally almost apologizing, and just reaffirming that they won't stop working like they have been, and almost to a man, and that's just how bad these guys want it. They're harder on themselves than anything really that I could say, and just I think every situation, whenever it comes to players who maybe have a play not go their way, every situation is a little different. But those guys that have this volume of work, whether it's playing defense and tackling or blocking as an offensive lineman or as a receiver, catching the football, when you have this volume of work that is at such a high level and the guys continue to work and push themselves to be even better, that it's going to be something. It's more a matter of supporting them and helping them understand, hey, just a reminder of this, just a reminder of that. And that's pretty much what the case was here this weekend.
Will you bring up the fact that you're playing a Big Ten game this weekend, and this is almost a preview of what's coming in the next game?
Yeah, no, not really. This is about this season, this team. Yeah, really, that really doesn't apply. Yeah, for our team, now. We'll make some notes on the travel logistics as a coaching staff and things like that might pertain to a year or two down the road. But for this team and this weekend, really that doesn't have an impact.
2 games in, what are you most happy with, and what do you think that you really need to focus on improvement?
Most happy with, I think, consistency. Consistency, just feel like assignment sound-wise, we're pretty good. Guys know what they're doing. It's gotten better. Defensively, we're consistent. When guys are running routes down the field, there's zones that we're forcing people to have to make harder throws into. We're tighter on defenders. We're understanding our tackling, the gaps that we have to fill, just assignment sound on defense. Offensively, I think, the explosiveness is something that was expected. And so I'm excited to see that continue. Like I think keeps getting brought up. We'll keep working on the run game. There will be a balanced attack at some point that's needed. And we know that happened a year ago. Special teams, I think, just the attack mindset, even if it is something that hurts us. So we had a few penalties this last week, right? I mean, you got a guy engaged and the defender trips, okay? When you take a guy to the ground, whether it looked like a trip or whether it looked like you held him, we just got to understand that that's going to get called. And I understand why it was called. And so we just got to make sure we're really understanding, that those things hurt us because the field position that we start with offensively after a punt return or a kick return, those penalties were big this last week. And if we do that down the road, whether it's this weekend or conference play, they have bigger ramifications.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep.